joining our session today, PowerConnect for Dynatrace, Superior End-to-End SAP Observability. We're thrilled to have you here and excited to dive into a topic that's transforming how organizations understand and manage their SAP environments. My name is Shelley Black. I'm the Senior Partner Development Manager at Rhondos, and we are proud partners of Dynatrace, the leader in AI-powered observability. And together, we're helping organizations gain deep, actionable insights into their SAP systems by delivering true end-to-end visibility, something that was incredibly difficult, if not impossible until now. Dynatrace helps you analyze, automate, and innovate faster, transforming complexity into your greatest asset. And with PowerConnect for Dynatrace, we're extending that intelligence and automation to the heart of your enterprise SAP. So today you'll hear from experts who will walk you through how this integration works, why it matters, and how customers are using it to secure and monitor and optimize their SAP landscapes with unprecedented precision. So again, thank you so much for being here, and let's get started. Before we dive in, I'd love to introduce today's speakers. So first up, we've got Mr. Brian Bates, our Senior Go-to-Market Strategist here at Rhondos. Brian brings a deep experience in aligning technology solutions with real-world business challenges. He's been instrumental in shaping how we position PowerConnect in the market and how we bring meaningful value to customers running SAP. And joining Brian is Ben Dare, our technical sales engineer, and as we like to call him, basics extraordinaire turned observability wizard. Ben has over 25 years of hands-on SAP experience. He's truly been in the trenches. He knows the challenges that SAP teams are facing, and he's now using that experience to help customers harness the power of observability to transform their SAP operations. So you're in great hands with these two. Let's jump into our agenda real quick, and then I'll pass the reins over. So today we'll start with an overview of why Dynatrace is a leader in observability, and then jump into an introduction to who Rhondos is. From there, we'll discuss the difference in monitoring and observability, and then review the PowerConnect technology. And before we open it up to Q&A at the end, we'll review some of the most common use cases we see customers utilizing PowerConnect and Dynatrace for today. So with that, let's get started. Brian, over to you.
Thank you so much, Shelley, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I'm really excited to share that Dynatrace has been recognized as a leader in the 2024 Gartner Magic Quadrant for observability platforms. This marks the 14th consecutive time Dynatrace has received this distinction, underscoring its consistent excellence in the field. Gartner's evaluation placed Dynatrace furthest for completeness of vision and highest for ability to execute among 17 vendors. This dual recognition speaks volumes about Dynatrace's innovative approach and reliable performance. Additionally, in the 2024 Gartner Critical Capabilities Report, Dynatrace achieved the highest scores in 3 key use cases: application health and performance monitoring, hybrid infrastructure platform operations, and business insights. These top rankings highlight Dynatrace's ability to provide comprehensive AI-driven insights that are crucial for maintaining optimal application performance, managing complex hybrid infrastructures, and deriving actionable business intelligence. A standout feature of Dynatrace is its integration of advanced AI technologies, predictive, causal, and generative AI, all within its platform. This enables real-time, context-rich analytics that empower teams to proactively address issues and optimize operations. Moreover, Dynatrace's collaboration with Rhondos enhances its capabilities by extending observability into those SAP environments. Through Rhondos's PowerConnect, organizations can achieve real-time monitoring and improve security within their SAP systems, ensuring critical business processes are both visible and secure. Dynatrace's consistent leadership, top-tier use case performance, and strategic integrations make it a compelling choice for organizations seeking a robust observability solution. So let's talk about what it really means to modernize observability. Dynatrace recently introduced what it calls Hypermodal AI. And it's not just a buzzword, it's a foundational shift in how we use AI to manage cloud-native, hybrid, and legacy enterprise systems. Here's the short version. Hypermodal AI fuses 3 powerful techniques: predictive, causal, and generative AI into one unified observability engine. That means it doesn't just monitor and alert, it anticipates issues, pinpoints root causes with precision, and then lets you interact with the system using plain language through Davis Copilot. But why should customers care? And that's because legacy monitoring is like looking through a keyhole: narrow, it's disconnected, it's manual. Dynatrace is panoramic, automated, and most importantly, conversational. It cuts through alert fatigue, slashes downtime, and puts performance data in the hands of both engineers and business leaders. Hypermodal AI isn't something competitors can just bolt on, it's built in. It's real time, explainable, and makes a compelling case for faster time to value, lower total cost of ownership, and higher stakeholder adoption, especially with features like Davis Copilot that lets a CISO, an SRE, a basis manager, and a business analyst all speak the same language. And here's where it gets especially exciting for the SAP world. SAP systems are full of time-stamped business-critical telemetry: transaction codes, workflow, bottlenecks, user activity, and actions. When Dynatrace, through Rhondos and PowerConnect, ingests that SAP data, Hypermodal AI turns it into gold. You can predict process failures, trace the exact cause of performance degradation across layers, and even ask in natural language, why did my order to cash flow slow down yesterday? That's the future of observability. And with Rhondos PowerConnect for Dynatrace, it's already here. Let's dive deep into this. Ben, over to you.
Thank you, Brian. So we talked a lot about SAP. People know who SAP is. They've obviously heard of Dynatrace. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Rhondos. So Rhondos is the exclusive North American distributor of a technology called PowerConnect. PowerConnect is the SAP certified add-on that we install directly into the NetWeaver layer to collect all of the metrics, logs, and traces that we collect and then send over to Dynatrace, where you can take advantage of all of those great benefits and technology that Brian was just speaking about. One of the things that's really great about Rhondos is that everybody that's here is cross-trained, both in PowerConnect, the platforms we send the data to, and PowerConnect. So my background is in basis. I spent 20 years as a basis administrator, sometime as a solution architect. And when I first got here, I was tasked in getting up to speed on all of the technologies. So I worked very succinctly with Dynatrace. PowerConnect, I'm still learning. We still have some wizards behind me that provide the expert support when we need it. But everybody here is cross-trained in all of technologies. You can see here some of the logos that we have of existing customers. And then below there, some of the validated returns that they sorry, lost the word for a second there, that they repeatedly speak on our behalf at trade shows. So at Sapphire, all of the SAP Tech Connect shows, all of these customers come and speak on our behalf about how great PowerConnect is and the technology that we bring to the table. So another thing I think that's really important to level set on before we jump into some of the use cases is the difference between monitoring and observability. When I was hands-on on SAP, monitoring has always been a passion of mine. So I was certified in both EDE 100 and EDE 300. For those of you that don't know, that means that's root cause analysis and business process monitoring and solution manager. And they don't call it monitoring for no reason. SAP CCMS infrastructure is monitoring, which means that you are setting KPIs and threshold based on data that comes in and being alerted on thresholds that have been surpassed or triggered. Dynatrace is really where we start bringing in observability. And so taking data out of SAP, pumping it into Dynatrace now gives us all these capabilities where we're not just looking at logs and metrics, but also traces. And we're looking at that data in full fidelity so that we have a deeper understanding immediately of why these issues happen inside of SAP, which lead to these custom validated returns that I spoke about earlier. It's not a coincidence that I used an iceberg here as the background image, because monitoring really focuses on the top half of that iceberg. And anybody who's watched any kind of science show knows that, you know, the majority of the iceberg, ask the folks in the Titanic, is underneath the iceberg. So this is honestly one of the slides that made me want to come work at Rhondos. As I mentioned, I did SAP basis administration for 20 years. And I saw this particular slide that had all these different data sources over on the left, including SAP, that are now being pumped into a single pane of glass where I can see metrics for all these different devices and technologies in one place. Anybody who's been around SAP long enough, especially for on-prem or cloud environments, knows that when there's an issue, it's not just a technology team, and by that I mean the basis team that has to jump on that call. Sure, the basis folks are typically the first place that tickets get assigned so that we can do the troubleshooting, and we have to do what I refer to as mean time to innocence. But those calls include, all of the infrastructure, storage, networking, the application people. A lot of really high-priced resources are on these Sev1 calls until these issues get resolved. And so by taking all of the data and logs and metrics and traces from all these different platforms, putting in a Dynatrace where we can now take advantage of all of the AI and predictive analytics features, this is the real power behind this tool. So you're basically taking all of your SAP monitoring and hyper threading it, putting it on crack, whatever you want to call it, to troubleshooting issues. So some good news. Not only do we extract all of this data out of SAP and pump it into Dynatrace, but this is a 100% SAP certified solution. This certification took over 8 years for us to achieve. And as you can imagine, SAP has very rigorous standards for certifying software that's going to be installed as an add-on into its NetWeaver stack. They check it for performance, they check it for security. And so this means that you are not going to violate any SAP service agreements by installing PowerConnect. You can do upgrades, whatever you want, without breaking SAP or PowerConnect, because we have our own namespace. And in addition, we also work with all of the public cloud providers. So a lot of customers ask us, well, hey, I'm running SAP in Azure, I'm running SAP in Google Cloud. It doesn't matter. We're platform agnostic because, again, we're installed directly in the NetWeaver layer. All we need is a secure port opened over to the Dynatrace stack so that we can send the data. So again, we talked a little bit about how customers come to us. They're typically using things like Solution Manager to monitor SAP, and the other infrastructure teams have other tools that they're using to monitor their stuff. And so that creates a lot of challenges inside of organizations. And a lot of that has to do with misaligned or siloed teams. And again, they're siloed because everybody has their own logs, which leads to the fragmented visibility where, the SAP folks are looking inside their system, the VMware team is looking at VMware logs, and we're trying to kind of correlate data manually to figure out what the root cause of this problem is. And so it really leads to these reactive responses where we're using KPI thresholds to, notify us when there's a problem. It's all hands on deck. It leads to the fire drills. And at the end of the day, this leads to a poor customer experience. And those customers can be external customers that are trying to buy things from our company, or in IT, a lot of times we refer to our customers as internal customers or end users inside of our organization. But all of this puts a risk to revenue. It can lead to customer churn, unhappy employees that are tired of dealing with systems that are out, and the stress that comes along with that. So the answer to this is PowerConnect and Dynatrace. So as I mentioned, we are 100% certified. We have solutions for the ABAP and Java stacks as well as the cloud. So all of the SAP SaaS cloud offerings that customers are using now, we have a plugin there. And so the way this works is we basically install it directly into the NetWeaver stack. We exchange a token from Dynatrace so that the data is now encrypted and secure as it gets sent. And within an hour of this configuration, all of the out-of-the-box dashboards that we deliver are starting to be populated with data. And so this allows you to immediately start doing, analytics, and then we can work with you to generate whatever kind of alerts you may want to look at down the road. The layout or the infrastructure for the cloud offering is a little bit different. Obviously, we don't have the ability to install a plugin directly into an SAP SaaS offering. So this requires a small Java application server, and this can be installed anywhere. Customers ask me all the time, well, does this have to be, with Dynatrace in their cloud, or can this be on-prem, or does it have, it doesn't matter, right? As long as we have access to the data, we do API polling to all of your SAP cloud applications. PowerConnect takes that data, does some field mapping, removes some duplicate entries, sends that over to ActiveGate, where now you can take advantage of all the benefits of Dynatrace. By the way, just wanted to let you guys know that this is not some experiment. PowerConnect is over 10 years old. It has over 5,000 installations, and we have customers in 24 different countries and many different industries across many different industries. We'll leave it at that. So, certified solution, installed all over the world. Why do I need this thing? Well, there's typically 5 motivations why people want to take data out of SAP and send it to Dynatrace. A lot of people, when you first start thinking about monitoring or observability of an SAP platform, they immediately jump to performance. And I'll be happy to show some of the examples of how we look at things like root cause analysis and end user experience. But the other, or the second most reason why customers come to us, honestly, is security and compliance. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to get SAP audit logs out of SAP and into a platform like Dynatrace so they can do alerting on these events. The internal IT security teams often view SAP as a black box. And so using our out-of-the-box capabilities, now we can take all of your security and compliance data and send it to Dynatrace and give the security teams access to their own dashboard where they can see all of the stuff that matters to them. So in addition to things like audit logs, we are also checking for insider threats. So making sure that users aren't using RFC destinations to go from dev to quality to production, ensuring SOX compliance, that the same person that creates a transport isn't the same person that moves a transport or imports a transport. All of this data in full fidelity we have access to with our over 300 out-of-the-box extractors that we can then send to Dynatrace. So in addition to the security, compliance, and performance, we can also help you with business process monitoring. This is a very flexible and extensible platform, which in addition to the 300 out-of-the-box extractors is also very customizable. So we can create an extractor out of an SAP report, or the way that the platform is built, if there's certain data that you need out of a Z table or maybe a sales table, we also have table filters. We can extract that data directly from SAP and send that data to Dynatrace, where we can now correlate that data with not just SAP systems, but the third-party systems that your SAP platform is sending data to and from. And then finally, we have a use case or a motivation that we call migration. I like to think of it as migration or, post-patching or upgrade, however you want to look at it. And really the benefit of this is that A/B timeframe comparison. So whether it be that you're moving from on-prem to the cloud and you want to see if the 48 CPU that you had on-prem are equivalent to the 48 CPU for your VM size in AWS are equivalent, or you're want to see what happened to performance before and after transports or before and after patching. This A/B timeframe comparison will really give you a deep understanding of performance changes in the system pre and post change. All right, enough talk. I know everybody wants to see some examples, so I will show you a couple of slides and then do a quick demo on the platform itself and show you what this looks like. So I mentioned security, right? One of the great things about sending this data to Dynatrace is that now you can use the data that we're pumping in there for real-time alerts. One of the biggest gaps that SAP CCMS have is that there are no CCMS alerts or ways to receive notifications for suspicious activities or security anomalies in your system. And so by sending this data now to Dynatrace, we can create real-time alerts so that you can be notified as soon as these events happen. And oh, by the way, by notification, I don't mean the same way that SAP does via an email into the same inbox where all those noisy CCMS alerts go. Instead, Dynatrace can integrate directly with your ITSM platform so that you can have tickets raised and the correct attention level will be correct level of attention will be garnered by those who need to look into these issues. So the other thing I just want to call out while we're looking at this dashboard panel is that these are just the panels that we deliver out of the box. Again, we're sending all of this data in full fidelity over to Dynatrace. And each one of these panels is simply a search to create the visualization that we have here. You can use a search to look for and correlate any data that you want in the system and do it not just for a single system, but across systems. So when it comes to security, I like to talk about things like RFC vulnerabilities. RFCs are one of the most vulnerable resource in an SAP system. And when an attacker gains a beachhead into your landscape, they're not just going to go after one SAP system. They're going to go after all of them. And so if they're trying to do that via RFC and you're using old methods to try to detect this, you're going to have to go through your SM21 system logs to see failed RFC destinations or connections. What you're not going to be able to do is correlate that same failed RFC across all of your systems, where we can now see, hey, there's failed connections across all 5 of our SAP systems in our landscape, and they're all coming from the same IP address. Perhaps there's something we should look into there. So this is, again, the power of sending this data to Dynatrace. SAP performance. So I'll show you a couple of use cases that are actually on the screen here that I love to talk about, and that is one, background jobs. Background jobs are one of the things that, basis typically only has to, they're only technically responsible for the background jobs that are for cleaning up and maintaining the system. But we also work very closely with functional teams that have background jobs that they have to monitor to make sure that the business is operating smoothly. And oftentimes these background jobs may only need to complete one time in a 6-hour period, but they run every 30 minutes. And so, due to audit reasons, we have to receive notifications of those failures and pump them somewhere. Usually they go to an inbox that nobody manages, and it falls then back on the functional team to ensure that those jobs are running as they should. So in that case, what's the point of the alerts in the first place? So because we're sending this now through Dynatrace, we can create creative and searches that make sense that say, hey, has this job completed once in a 6-hour window? If not, let's raise an ITSM ticket and get somebody to look at it. If not, we're fine, everything's good. And then we can also use dynamic threshold values for runtimes. That's something else that we have to manage. So we typically in SAP are setting static threshold values for runtime of background jobs, where Davis AI now can learn what the system behavior is, so that during month-end close, if jobs are running longer, now we have dynamic threshold values for jobs. And we don't get false alerts when jobs run a little bit longer than what we expect them to. So that, and then the other one that I love to talk about again is QRFCs, or background processes. Either one of these, they're very static transactions. You go to them and you look at, say, SM50, for example, for work processes. In order to get a new updated view of your work processes, you have to refresh the screen to find out which threads or work processes are being utilized at the moment. What you can't see is, in the middle of the night, did I run out of background processes? And that's why there's delays in my job is being executed. By timestamping that data inside of SAP and sending it to Dynatrace, now we can get a graphical view of what our work process utilization looks like over time, to not only help us with root cause analysis, but also generating alerts for things that we typically don't know about unless we catch it live in the act inside of SAP. The database. I mentioned this for one reason. Not only do we give deeper two reasons. I mentioned this for 2 reasons. Not only do we give deeper insights into what's going on in the database than HANA Cockpit or HANA Studio, but we also have customers that are moving to RISE. And when you go to RISE, because of the shared responsibility model, basis folks like myself lose access and visibility into things like the database and operating system. This paralyzes me with fear, because I don't know how I could possibly be responsible for the overall health of a system when I'm handcuffed and lose access to 2 of the most critical parts of the infrastructure that support my SAP platform. So because we are installed directly in the NetWeaver layer and we're making direct API calls through the kernel to collect this information, we give visibility back to the database and OS to basis administrators so that they can appropriately troubleshoot their systems. Interfaces. So again, not only are we giving you deeper insights, I talked a little bit about SMQ1 and the fact that we can timestamp and see if there's failures over time. And oh, by the way, give you the root cause of why these things failed directly in the logs in the monitoring platform. But also, we're correlating that data. And this was something that was, I dare say, new to me because I was part of that siloed approach. I was looking in each SAP system, trying to figure out where things were failing. Well, now if you're taking all of the third-party systems that SAP is speaking with and SAP and pumping all that data into Dynatrace, we now have the ability to correlate messages. So we take the GUID ID that SAP assigns to messages, and we can track that ID as it goes through all the different systems. And we can look at things like resources on those systems, how long the message was in each system. Was there a bottleneck there, right? Because if we're using PowerConnect to look at things like PO or whatever it may be, we can tell if maybe there's resource contentions, threads that have maxed out. So we're giving granular insights, not just to the SAP systems in our landscape, but the third-party systems and monitoring those interfaces for real-time alerting when there's issues. And then finally, business processes. So this is something that a lot of customers come to Dynatrace for because they are really good at monitoring business processes and then tying those backend KPIs to degradation in the business performance to help generate ROI. Well, we can do that now with SAP data through the business process workflows that come with Dynatrace, and then also our ability to extract real-time data out of both application data tables, and then also grab the resource information from the performance perspective. I am going to skip these last two slides and just jump into a demo. This is going to be our service topology map, which is really exciting for SAP folks because we're not used to getting something like this. And so this was something that, when I saw for the first time, I get really excited because this is essentially showing you all of the interdependent services in an SAP system and how they relate to each other. And in this example, this is our demo environment. We only have a single host, but if you had multiple hosts running PowerConnect, or in your landscape, you have other systems that are using the one agent to monitor their full stack availability, any interconnected service between those systems would show up here. And that means you would also be able to measure the latency between those systems to, again, pinpoint where there is performance degradation. And you have the, oops, sorry, wrong button there. You have the option now to drill down to look at the resources behind these services to figure out where the actual bottleneck is. So this is just like mind-blowing for somebody like myself to be able to have access to these kind of tools. Second thing I was going to show you is distributed tracing. So you think of all of your stat and stat records, it's measuring everything, right? These things take up a lot of room in SAP. We don't typically keep them for very long. I think SAP keeps them for 3 days, and they're a pain in the neck to go through. Well, again, when we take that data and send it to Dynatrace, we have the ability to filter this data on specific things that we want to look at, whether it's web services, specific users that they're doing. So I can come in here and let's say we just want to search based on like T codes. So I can see what T codes somebody has executed, probably not in the last 30 minutes, because again, this is a demo system. So we'll go back a week. And then if I want, I can filter this on an end user ID. And for demo purposes, I'm not going to do this, but you get the idea, right? Like we have the ability to filter down and then look at specific response times for given transactions across our system and where the parts of the response time lie. So it's super powerful. This is just an overview dashboard that shows you, system health checks. So being able to save time for those basis folks that are having to dig through all of the transactions on a regular basis. To monitor the health of the system, we can give them a single screen that has all of that in a single location. So with that, I think that's all the material I have to cover. I'm going to jump back here and pop this up and just see if anybody has any questions.
We had a couple questions come in through the chat, Ben. How is data privacy ensured when SAP logs are sent to Dynatrace?
Great question. So The data is secured again. Remember in the beginning, I mentioned that token that we're exchanging with Dynatrace. So that token is there as like a secret key, so that we are encrypting that data. It's sent over HTTPS via the integrated ICM inside of SAP. So sent over HTTPS, encrypted with that token over to Dynatrace.
Thank you. Another question, is there native support for S/4HANA Cloud monitoring?
Great question. S/4HANA Cloud is absolutely one of the certified solutions that we support inside of SAP, with the exception of some of the cloud properties, which we haven't had a lot of demand for, both in the ABAP and Java world. The kind of overarching theme is that if SAP supports it, we'll support it.
Okay, another question. Let's see here. Can PowerConnect detect anomalies in custom SAP transactions?
It can, yes. So the anomaly detection is kind of what I was showing you throughout this thing with the spikes in the graph or alerts that we receive. And so that's how we do the anomaly detection. But then the custom transaction part is built into another topic that we discussed, where we can do extractions based on those custom reports and also custom Z tables. So we have a table filter where we can, create extractions just based on any table that's in the system.
How
There isn't a lot of
granular-
data. There isn't a lot of data inside of SAP that we don't have access to.
How granular is the traceability across the SAP tech stack using Dynatrace?
It's as granular as you need it to be. So we can filter that data. We can make it less granular if you're just looking for high level data, but we are grabbing full fidelity logs and traces out of SAP and sending it to Dynatrace. So we can use that data to create searches, filter, and correlate on any piece of data that's being extracted. I think I see somebody asking about SAP interfaces, IDOCs, RFCs, PI. 100% yes. We have out-of-the-box dashboards for things like BD64, WE20, SMQ1, SMQ2, SXMB Money for PI, SM58 for RFCs. All of those things we monitor out of the box, have out-of-the-box specific dashboards for. I'd be happy to set up a custom demo for you if you just reach out. If you guys don't, I might get my hand slapped for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Some customers don't want to reach out all the time because they don't want to have that sales call right away. If you guys are looking just for like a technical discovery, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll answer all of your questions for you to help you feel more comfortable with the solution before we, bring in the salespeople.
Perfect. I think those are all the questions for now. If there were any questions that you weren't able to ask now or have later, again, feel free to reach out and we are happy to assist. And with that, let's go ahead and announce our winner. We are doing a raffle for those of y'all who attended. So thank you so much. And we were able to figure out that our winners are Aaron Ganau, Sam Olson, and Jagisha Gupta. So if we called your name, thank you so much for attending, and we will reach out to each of you and email you a $50 Amazon gift card. So expect to receive that within the hour after the webinar. And we really appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you so much. And we are here to assist. So any questions around observing and securing SAP with Dynatrace, we're here. And you can request a demo directly by scanning this QR code here. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.